How to measure an in-ground pool for a custom-made Pooltex fitted pool cover. The pool shape will be captured using a series of measurements taken from two primary locations, A and B, to points around the perimeter of the pool, at the same height. This creates a triangulation matrix of distances, which will recreate the exact shape of any pool so the cover can be made. The primary points are usually at the center of each end of the pool, but they can run across the pool if this is a better position due to some type of fixture that could make measuring from the end of the pool difficult. An example of a fixture may be a diving board, a waterfall, a raised section of coping, or the like. Firstly, we'll look at the different variables which affect measuring the pool. Then we'll tell you how to measure it. The imaginary line between the A and B points can run diagonally on the pool. It is important to keep this line as central as possible on the pool and as far away from each side of the pool as possible, otherwise the accuracy of the measurements can be affected. This is the ideal location of the AB line. It is centered, running up the length of the pool. Here the AB line is running diagonally across the pool. It is not the ideal location, but can be used if required. The AB line can run across the width of the pool if this is easier due to access or difficulty when measuring. Here the AB line is too close to one side of the pool and would cause inaccurate point measurements on that side of the pool. The AB line location may not cross the pool coping, as this will cause inaccurate point measurements. Marking the point positions. Before marking the measuring points around the pool, you need to work out the finished position of the pool cover. This is normally a 150 mm overlap from the edge of the pool, but is determined by the width of the pool coping. If the coping is narrower than 350 mm, a lesser overlap is required. The minimum distance between the edge of the cover and the drilled hole location in the coping for the attachment fitting is 150 mm. The hole is normally drilled into the top of the coping, but can be drilled into the side if the top of the coping is too narrow. The cover is easier to fit when the holes are on the top, but if this is not possible, then the side is suitable. If the coping is narrower than 350 mm, you'll need to reduce the overlap of the cover. For example, if the coping is only 300 mm wide, then the drilled hole should be at least 50 mm in from the outer edge of the coping. So taking away this distance and the 150 mm needed for the fitting, this leaves 100 mm as the maximum overlap of the cover. If the coping is narrower than 300 mm, then the hole for the fitting may have to be drilled into the side of the coping, as there is not enough coping width to drill into the top. When you've determined the overlap of the cover, use a tape measure or make a guide for the position of the measure points on a plastic ruler or a piece of wood. The handle of a tool would be suitable if you don't have a ruler. The overlap distance can change around the pool. It is likely to reduce where there are rocks or protrusions. Using your chalk, mark the points at the finished edge of the cover, including the cover overlap, onto the pool coping. Ladder details. If the pool has a ladder or handrail, the cover usually needs to have a cutout made to fit. Some handrails do not protrude past the overlap of the cover, and therefore no cutout is required. This pool is shown with a handrail that does not interfere with the overlap of the cover, and so it is ignored when the pool is measured, as no cutouts are required. If the ladder or handrail protrudes into the pool, you need to make 3 extra points for each rail. Here is a close-up of the ladder measurement point positions. There are 3 points required for each rail. 2 points are on the finished edge of the cover, and 1 point in the center of the rail toward the center of the pool. When the cover is fitted, it will have a cutout at each rail to the edge of the cover. Raised coping. If the pool has a section of coping that is raised, the cover will have to be measured around the raised section. For raised sections longer than 2 meters, you'll need to order the cover with a cable sewn in to support the cover along the raised section. The cable provides tension across the raised section of coping so the fittings on the opposite side work correctly. You need to mark the end points of the cable so the measurements for these can be recorded on the measure sheet or cover order program. On this example, the cable end points need to be 80 mm from the raised section, as shown in the next diagram. The points are marked across the face of the raised coping at the same level as the regular coping of the pool. Position the edge point on each side of the raised section about 50 mm away from each side of the raised section, so it creates an angle to allow room for the fitting to be drilled and fastened. Remember, all points are located at the finished edge of the cover. You control the overlap and shape by the location of the points. The cover should look like this when fitted to the pool. You can see the slight angle as the cover crosses the pool coping. Remember to mark a separate point for the end point of the cable. Raised spar. If the pool has a raised spar, the cover will have to be measured around the raised section. For raised sections longer than 2 meters, you'll need to order the cover with a cable sewn in along the face of the raised spar. The cable provides tension around the raised spar to secure the cover in place. The principle is the same for both flat-sided and circular spars. If the pool has rocks, the cover can be fitted around the rocks using a cable sewn into the hem, as shown in this picture. Extra long rope fittings, order code PCFROP2, are available to secure the cover around rocks and other obstacles. If you need advice on complex or unusual pools, take a digital picture and send it to us. We can then advise the best way to measure and fit the cover to the pool. Once you've determined where the point positions need to be located to the finished edge of the cover, plus your primary measuring reference points A and B, it is time to start measuring the pool. You'll need the following items to measure the pool. 1. A builder's semi-permanent crayon or Chinograph pencil and some sticks of chalk. 2. A fibreglass tape measure or one suitable for use with water. 3. A weight to hold the zero end of the tape measure, or another person to hold it. 4. An ABGAL pool cover order form or ABGAL online ordering software. 5. A pen for filling out the form. 6. A plastic ruler or small metal tape measure to use as a guide for marking a constant distance from the edge of the pool. Start in the center of one end of the pool. This will be the first primary point of measurement. Using your ruler or distance guide, mark the point at the finished edge position of the cover and label it A. Use a semi-permanent crayon to mark this point, so you can refer back to the A point when you return to fit the cover. Move to the opposite end of the pool and, using the ruler or distance guide, mark this point and label it B. Again, use a semi-permanent crayon so you can refer back to the B point when you return to fit the cover. Starting from point A and moving clockwise, use the ruler or distance guide and start marking the point positions around the pool perimeter. Write each point number, starting with the number 1 closest to A, as this will make it easier to measure later. The distance between each point is determined by the shape of the pool. Straight edges can have points spaced up to 1500 mm apart, and tight curves like corners will have the points marked only 150 mm apart. Refer to the guide on the back of the order form for which distance to use based on the radius of the curves. This pool has grab rails which are far enough away from the edge of the pool to not interfere with fitting a cover. However, if the pool has a ladder that protrudes into the pool, you'll need to mark points on each side of both rails where the cover finishes. You'll also need to mark a point in the center of the rail where it protrudes into the pool. This will give you 3 points for each rail arm. Refer to the earlier section of this guide that describes how to measure rails for cutouts in the cover. Now continue to mark all the points around the pool until you reach A. Using a weight or another person, align the start of the tape measure with the point marked A. Carefully measure the distance from A to B. Pull the tape so it is taut, but not so much as to move the position of the weight. Check it twice and write the distance on the order form in the space provided. Walk back toward A and start measuring to each numbered point in a clockwise direction, starting with point number 1. On the order form, write the distance from A to each point as you move in a clockwise direction around the pool. For example, A to 1 equals 530 millimeters, A to 2, 1390 millimeters, etc. Remember, for tighter curves, the distance between the points is smaller. This is so the exact shape of the curve can be calculated during the design stage of the cover. Once the distances from all the points have been measured from A, you need to move the zero end of the tape to the opposite side of the pool and position it exactly at point B. Holding the tape measure, move to point 1. Start measuring the distance from B to all the points in a clockwise direction around the pool. Again, start from point 1 and write the distance from B to each point around the pool on the order form. An ABGAL Pooltex fitted cover will provide years of hassle-free use when correctly measured, fitted and cared for. A good fit ensures it will keep debris out of the pool and look great, so correct and accurate measurements are very important. Check the A to B length again with what you first recorded. If there is a difference, check the position of the zero end of the tape measure in case it has moved. If it has moved, you'll need to recheck every measurement taken from point B and correct any errors. We need to take 3 or 4 check measurements across the pool from point to point. These few measurements are important as they confirm the accuracy of the A to B measurements when the cover is designed prior to manufacture. These cross measurements are perpendicular or at right angles to the AB line. Starting from A in a clockwise direction, position the zero end of the tape at the first checkpoint you've chosen. Then measure across the pool perpendicular to the AB line. Write the point numbers and the distance between the points on the order form as you go. Moving clockwise, start with the lowest number to the highest number, for example, point 5 to point 32, then point 11 to point 24. Move the zero end of the tape to the next checkpoint from A and record the distance. Having the point number written in chalk alongside the point mark makes it easy to record the cross measurement points. Review the measurements taken and check the order form to make sure you've completed all the information needed to manufacture the cover before you leave the site. It is much quicker to take an extra measurement or two while still on site than having to return to the site later to remeasure a forgotten point. That is the advantage of the ABGAL cover order software. If you have a laptop computer, you can enter all the measurements on site and check the pool shape before you leave. You can even connect to the internet through your mobile phone and order the cover from the pool site. This saves you time and money. If you're not using the ABGAL cover order software, sketch the shape of the pool on the order form and mark the A and B locations. If the cover requires special cutouts or rub strips, mark the position of these on the diagram and alongside each point in the measurement section. If you're using the ABGAL electronic cover order system from home, you can enter the data and review the pool shape on screen before ordering your cover via email. On more complex pools, a few digital photos may be useful for the manufacture of the pool cover. These can be emailed with your cover order to assist in the design of the cover before it's manufactured.